It's your boy Beats by Ash back at it again with another banger of a video, and we are officially back from the MTG play-in weekend. Things did not go as well as planned, but it was an interesting pool nonetheless, and if you want to check that out, that video should be up on the channel at the time of this recording. But today, I wanted to take you guys through one of the most interesting and quite possibly the best draft I have had thus far in this set, utilizing my personal favorite card of the set, Up the Beanstalk. Now, this is actually a draft that I did off stream while not recording, and I played one total match before deciding that this is actually something I really wanted to share with you guys, because this turned out to be quite possibly the highest power level of draft that I have had thus far, and I didn't even pick all of the cards myself because I got disconnected. And I think that's something that's really crazy to see here, and I wanted to take you guys through the draft logs of this deck on 17 lands, and then kind of go over the deck and go over the first match that we had, as well as taking you guys through the 2 matches left that we have to complete, because this truly is something special. Now, a lot has been said about blue being one of the weakest colors in the set and having quite possibly one of the worst color pairings in green-blue. And I'm here to demonstrate to you guys that that is just not the case, and that's what we are about to do. Without further ado, we're going to head over to 17 lands and let's get into the goo. Alright guys, so up here I have all of my picks. And we're kind of just going to go through them, and we're going to talk about this, how you would get into this color pair, and through the process, I also was disconnected, and so you're going to see the awesome auto picks that I was given, and it just so happens that AI is the best way to go about drafting this color pair. As you can see, our pack 1 pick 1 has 2 cards of interest here. We have the Agatha's Champion and the Picklock Prankster. Now, this is actually a pick that normally I would just take the Agatha's Champion, as this is, probably one of the top 5 uncommons in the set, and a really good starting point because this is an extremely splashable card. As of recent, I've been de-incentivized to start off green, as it typically pans out to me ending up with a very below average green deck when I could have a very average or slightly above aggro deck, and without even trying to force it, just generally have a higher game win rate. And so that's why I kind of decided to start off with the Picklock Prankster, because I think this is a really versatile card. And a lot of times when blue is wide open, which it typically is because it's the most underdrafted color in the set, you're going to have a pretty good deck just because people undervalue these cards. So in this pick, I decided to take the Picklock Prankster, but in hindsight 2020, as you're about to see, we should have started off with the Agatha's Champion, and it turns out we actually didn't need it. On the wheel here, you could see we potentially could get a Brave the Wilds or a Candy Trail, which is what I'm thinking we will get. Maybe a Hopeful Vigil or maybe the Ratcatcher Trainee, but that was my thought process during this pick. Going into pick 2, we're just sent a Redcap Gutter Dweller. Now, I don't know what this person took from this pack, but they must be out of their mind because this card is just an instant win button in a lot of situations. So obviously I decided to take the Gutter Dweller. Not as much going on in this pack. You've got the Sir Armont, that's a pretty decent card. Spellstutter could come back to us, considering we already have the Prankster. But we're going to go ahead and take the Redcap Gutter Dweller, and at the time of this pick, I was thinking, I'm okay giving up on this if we just want to go aggro, because this is an insane card. Moving on to pick 3, Bitter Chill, easy pick here. You could argue for the Elusive Otter, but considering I gave up the Agatha's Champion, I'm assuming that I'm sending the signal that someone wants to occupy green because Agatha's Champion is extremely broken. And Bitter Chill is a card that a lot of people will take even if they aren't blue, because this is generally speaking a good card to splash. So we decided to take that there. And in pick 4, we actually were offered a Hamlet Glutton. I felt like this was a really good choice to be in because there's not a lot going on in this pack, and we're not sacrificing much by taking this, so if it doesn't pan out, that's completely fine, but our blue cards work better with the Hamlet Glutton than the Redcap Gutter Dweller, so that's why I decided to take the Hamlet Glutton. Pick 5, we get offered the GOAT, Up the Beanstalk. We already have the Hamlet Glutton, and we already have 2 2-drops which are going to allow us to delay the game. And something you really want to think about here is when I'm making these picks, what is my game plan going to be? So here I have 3 control style cards, and this is a very strong card that also synergizes with a control style deck, whereas the Gutter Dweller really only works if you're playing aggro, since you're going to have to be base red. So Up the Beanstalk is the obvious choice here. Moving on to pick 6, Troublemaker Oath. I mean, we already have 2 green cards. There's not really a good blue or red card, so that's an obvious pick. Moving on to pick 7, I'm down to take the Beanstalk Worm. It has synergy with our Hamlet Glutton and the Up the Beanstalk. And moving on to pack 8, we get past a late Root Rider Fawn, which is a signal that this control style green deck is open. And also we have the Into the Fate Court also going to pick 8, which is also another strong signal for us. Moving on to pick 9, we actually get the Brave the Wilds back to us from our original pack, which is insane because this card has an amazing synergy with the cards we already have and gives us a high potential to, switch off of blue or red and just take whatever bomb we're given in pack 2 if we are offered one. So that is amazing for us. This is definitely a card I recommend picking earlier than late because I'm not betting on other people wheeling this card, because once people start understanding better how strong this card is, you're going to see this card go away way sooner in the pack. Pick number 10, we pick up a Kellan's Lightblade. Solid card. Like I said, we've got a lot of good green cards here, and Kellan's Lightblade is a decent card in this control style deck. It goes well with a lot of cards we already have. Pick 11, we end up getting back the Spell Stutter, also an amazing card in our deck archetype. So now we have a lot of reasons to be green-blue. And we get a second Troublemaker Oath. I'd rather have the Oath over the Beanstalk Worm because this card has really impressed me with how much it's actually had an impact. Because number one, like Sam Black said on his recent podcast on the Drafting Archetypes channel, the blue bargain deck is really what you want to try to go for with blue, in my opinion. You want to try to get bargain cards early because most of the good blue cards you want, like Hatching Plans, really synergize with those bargain effects. And in worst case scenario, this card matches our opponent's 2-drop in those aggro matchups. And currently at this point in the draft, our game plan is looking like we want to delay the game until we can get to our late game control cards. So that's an amazing pickup for us. And we get offered a second Spell Stutter. I would rather have that over the Outrider because, as you'll notice, now in my recent drafts, I've started really putting a low priority on these 3-drops because you can pick them up a dime a dozen in almost any color pair, and Spell Stutter is a card that we have a high potential chance to play. We get a Water Wings, nothing special there. All right, pack 2, pick 1. We're offered a Utopia Sprawl. I think this is just undoubtedly the best card in the pack, and that is going to hard commit us to green at this point in the draft. There's also a chance we wheel the Aquatic Alchemist, which could have a decent effect on our deck archetype with what we already have. Moving on to pick 2, this is where I actually disconnected, and the auto picker ends up giving us an Evolving Wilds. Had I been in this position, I'd probably take the Crystal Grotto because I think that since we have a lot of green cards and we don't necessarily know what else we want to splash or combine that with, there's a better reason to play the Crystal Grotto because this card allows us to have a higher incentive of splashing early game cards versus late. And since we're looking like we could be a mostly green deck splash one other color, we don't really need the Evolving Wilds, and we already have 2 fixing cards, so I really value the Scry in this kind of strategy because it can find certain key cards like our Up the Beanstalk, our Hamlet Glutton. Moving on to pick 3 in pack 2, the auto picker gave us a Stormkilled Vanguard. At this point, I do not even know what's happening because I'm trying to relog into the client and hoping that I don't get Skamaz out of this run. But seeing this afterwards is literally insane because this is actually just the strongest card in this pack, and the fact the computer gave us this just means that WotC wanted us to win. Okay, and now here we're given a second copy of Hamlet Glutton. I still was not on the client at this time, so that's an amazing pickup for us. And we get past a Hatching Plans, We did not pick this at all, and this card just so happens to have an insane synergy in our deck. This was quite possibly one of the best cards we could even get at this point in the draft because we have so many bargain synergies going on. Playing a Brave the Wilds and sacrificing a Hatching Plans on turn 3 is one of the most insane things you can do in the blue-green archetype, in my opinion. And then we get past a second Up the Beanstalk. It's literally insane. Up the Beanstalk has so many synergies. At this point, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5+ drops, and there's nothing else we would want better in this pack. In pick 7, we get a Johann Stopgap. Definitely something we were looking to pick up here because we have no removal in this deck currently, and it also has Bargain, which, as you'll notice, Bargain is more of a benefit in this set than it is a downside. And then we get offered an Agatha's Champion. This is literally insane. We could have had a third Hamlet Glutton, but we just get the Agatha's Champion that we should have picked in pack 1, pick 1, and this card just adds so much to our deck. It has synergy with our ramp cards, with our 2 Up the Beanstalk, and it's a removal spell that doesn't take away anything from our deck. Now we get past a second Brave the Wilds. Literally insane for our deck. It has so many synergies. And then we get given a Baronati off the auto picker. I'm not really interested in anything here anyway, so it doesn't really affect us. Another Beanstalk Worm. In all honesty, if I was the one making this pick, I would rather have the Crystal Grotto for reasons noted before. And then we get given a random Sugar Rush. Spider Food was definitely better for us than the Toadstool because this has strong side deck implications since we're in traditional. Toadstool Miter, not making the deck anytime. And now we're actually back on the client. This is where I actually get to start making the picks again. And as you'll notice, we got a lot of things that were really strong in pack number 2 that we didn't even choose. And the fact we come in at this point is super clutch because the Welcome to Sweet Tooth has an insane effect on our deck archetype. This is widely considered one of Green's best cards in general, and it just does so much for our deck. It creates bargain fodder in multiple ways, and if they don't answer it, we're just going to steamroll out of the game based off of those early counters since we have a lot of early game drops. And now we get offered a Fawnsbane Troll. We're looking for removal at this point in the draft, and this is easily one of the best cards, if not the best card we could get at this point, because this is literally just a power creep Agatha's Champion, and considering we already have so much fixing in our deck, this is really just free. Now here we get offered a third Hamlet Glutton. Gotta love to see it. I mean, one thing I'll say about Green is the decks where you have multiple Hamlet Glutton versus the decks that don't are night and day with Green. And having at least 2 Hamlet Gluttons, even without Up the Beanstalk, is already pretty ridiculous. But the fact we have 2 Up the Beanstalks, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 playable 5+ drops is literally insane at this point in the draft. So for some reason, I guess we aren't able to see our pick number 4 and our pick number 5 from this draft log, but I don't think those cards really had any effect on our deck, and our deck is already basically complete, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but a Ferocious Werefox has an insane effect on our deck archetype since we're missing like a couple of key cards to have to fill out the curve in the form of our 3 drops and 4 drops. And this card serves 2 purposes in terms of the curve. You can play it on turn 2 and turn 4, which is really, really good for us. And as well, I tend to like this card better than the other commons that create a role because I'd rather pay an additional 1 mana to have an instant effect and have this also be a combat trick than just paying 1 less and just giving someone a roll token that your opponent can potentially just remove. And then we get past a third Up the Beanstalk. I've never had more than 2 in a deck. And a lot of times, outside of this draft, I've never even wanted more than 1. But this is the one time where this card is exceptional. I don't think I'll ever get a draft like this again. And now to follow it up, we get a second Johann Stopgap. It's something we deeply needed here because we are strongly lacking removal at this point. And then we get past another Root Rider Fawn, giving us a total of 2 Root Rider Fawn. And now we get a third Root Rider Fawn. Literally ridiculous. The amount of ramp cards we have in this deck is absolutely insane. Like, this combination of greedy 5+ drops should not be possible, but because of the amount of ramp cards we have an insane deck that you're not going to be able to find 9 out of 10 times. And then we get offered a quick study. Definitely not making it to our deck because our deck's already so insane. And if you notice with this draft, we have so many powerful 2-drops and ramp cards that kind of just allow us to skip the aspect of having 3-drops in a deck, which traditionally in this set, I found that your 3-drop slot gets pretty clogged. And so the fact that we can just bypass the 3-drop slot because our 2-drops are so powerful is actually quite insane. Here we get past a misleading motes. I was thinking we might play this just because we're kind of low on removal. But as you'll see, I don't think there's really a reason to even put that in the deck. Okay, now here we get Advantage Transmuter and Return from the Wilds. I could have taken the Return from the Wilds, but in all honesty, I just didn't feel like our deck was bad enough to actually justify this card. I think this card is better when you don't have as many good 2-drops because it's honestly kind of slow. And if your opponent has like a Rat Out or a Flick a Coin, taking off your turn 3 against an aggro strategy when you're already not going to be able to develop the board as fast as red-black or red-white, you find that you really don't want to play this unless you absolutely have to. And then we get offered a Scream Puff, definitely not going to go in the deck. So that's the draft for us. And as you can see, like I mentioned before, we had a lot of insane cards while we weren't even on the client, which is absolutely insane because I don't think the auto picker gave us like a really bad card in any way. Like every card the auto picker gave us was something that I would not be dissatisfied with having in my deck, and in a lot of ways really just makes our deck. But let's go ahead and head over to the pool and see what we got going on here. So this is actually the deck that I ended up coming up with for the first draft. So we have 2 Brave the Wilds, 1 Utopia Sprawl, 3 Root Rider Fawn for no reason. We're splashing a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue cards in the form of Bitter Chill, Hatching Plans, literally disgusting in this deck with how much bargain we have, and 2 Spell Stutter to deny our opponent from doing early aggressive pushes against our slower controlling deck. And then we have 3 Up the Beanstalk. Literally fucking ridiculous. 3 Up the Beanstalk, 1 Welcome to Sweet Tooth, absolutely insane. We almost have a completely mono green deck, and so far in this set, I found it very difficult to make a monocolor strategy, especially in the Jund colors. I've had one draft previously where I had the opportunity to play an all mono red deck, and even then I had a couple cards where I was like, I think I'm down just to splash like 2 cards here just because not every one of those cards was powerful. But in this draft, you'll see that that's an extremely rare outlier. And then we have the Fonzbane Troll, of course, 2 Johan Stopgap, the Agathis Champion, 3 Hamlet Glutton, and 1 Stormkeld Vanguard. You'll see in this iteration, I'm actually not playing any copies of the Beanstalk Worm. I think I decided to cut that just because we have so many high playables. Going into the second game of that first match, I ended up changing the deck a little bit, and I think that this is actually the better composition. So basically, as you'll see, what we decided to do is just take out the 2 copies of Spell Stutter and replace them with the 2 main deck Troublemaker Oath. Just because I feel like this card is better going in blind where we're not guaranteed to go first, because going second, we could just put this card out and then it potentially just challenges our opponent's 2-drop, which delays the game. Whereas the Spell Stutter, if we lose the die roll and have to go second, sometimes we just aren't going to be able to afford to throw that down. And considering we have 0 fairies, that card is a lot better in the side deck than it is in the main deck. So this is actually the list that I think we're going to be playing with in these 2 remaining matches. But let's go ahead and hop into that first game, and I'll kind of narrate you guys through what went down. Briefly going over the lands, I decided to go 9 Forest. I mean, obviously, we have so many sources in this deck. Considering we have so many sources, I think it's fine to play 6 islands, technically 7 with the Evolving Wilds. You could probably cut down the islands a little bit if you want, since we're only splashing 4 blue cards, and we have so much fixing. But I think that we have such a high quality of cards that it's completely fine to run 6 islands so that we have a higher chance to like turn 2 Hatching Plans. Going into the replay on this first game, our hand starts out with 2 Up the Beanstalk and 2 Forest, so we're definitely going to keep that. Our opponent drops down a Forest. We go ahead and drop down the Up the Beanstalk, which allows us to cantrip. And now we have a Hatching Plans, which is really insane. Our opponent's going to drop down an Elvish Archivist, and we're going to go ahead and throw down a Utopia Sprawl here, which is really insane for us because now we're ramping with 3 5+ drops in hand, and we have a second up the beanstalk as well. We're going to go ahead and make a blue, which fixes our mana so that we can use the Johans and the hatching plans. And then we're going to drop down another copy of Up the Beanstalk, which allows us to draw a second Johan stopgap, which is really good for us because our opponent's Elvish Archivist, when it gets a bunch of counters on it, we can just return it to hand and just mitigate his value. And we can also just sack the hatching plans before we can play a 5-drop. Our opponent drops down a land, plays a 3 Bowl of Porridge. He's going to get 2/1/1 counters. Not really a big deal for us. Kind of a slow card. We go ahead and take 2. He's going to pass back over to us. We play another land, put down the hatching plans. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and Yogon stopgap, returning his Archivist. And then we're just going to draw 3 cards of our hatching plans because hatching plans fucking broken. Our opponent's going to go ahead and drop in another land, put down a 4/4 Vigilance, which really we don't give a fuck about because all of our creatures are bigger than it. Now, as you can see, we draw the Spell Stutter here. Spell Stutter, like I said, wasn't actually as good as I thought it was, so we're just going to take this out of the main deck because from this point on, it's pretty much dead, right? And we're going to go ahead and throw down the Hamlet Glutton, which draws us 2 cards off the Up the Beanstalk, which is absolutely insane. And now we have a third Up the Beanstalk. One of the funniest things that you'll notice here is when we pass to our opponent, we have to discard down to hand size because we drew so much. And so our opponent actually just saw us play 2 back-to-back Up the Beanstalk and then discard a third Up the Beanstalk down to hand size, which if I was the opponent, I would be extremely irritated. He's going to go ahead and hit him for 4. We'll just block this because there's really no reason for us not to. I mean, we don't really care if that dies. We have so many big boys. We might as well force him to forego developing the board and use up his mana. He's going to go ahead and tap 2 for 3 Bowls of Porridge to deal 2 damage and make the value trade. Now he's going to drop down the Elvish Archivist, pass to us. We're going to drop down the land. At this point, we're going to use the Brave the Wilds, and we're going to go ahead and add the Swamp. And then we're going to drop down a Root Rider Fawn, and then we're going to drop down a second Root Rider Fawn, and just kind of pass since we don't really need to do anything here, and we're just ramping up our mana so we can play 2 huge cards in 1 turn. He's going to drop down the Collector's Vault, then play the Princess Takes Flight, getting rid of a Root Rider Fawn. That's really terrible for him. Considering he doesn't know we have so many big drops, he's probably thinking, oh shit, I've got him. But nah, our deck's broken like that. All right, we'll drop down another Hamlet Glutton. We're going to go ahead and draw 2 cards. Absolutely disgusting. And as you can see, we're actually able to just play it without bargaining, which is literally unfair. I don't know why we're allowed to do that. He's going to go ahead and buff up his Archivist with the Princess Takes Flight. Sorry about that. We can just gain 9 life because we have 3 Hamlet Glutton. His Elvish Archivist is now a 7/8 because he's buffing it with the Besotted Knight. And he's going to get to draw a card off of the aura entering play. And as well, since he created a treasure, he gets to make 2/1/1 counters from the Collector's Vault. So he actually has a card that's bigger than our cards at this point in the game. And we just have another Johan stopgap. You know, we're just disgusting like that. He's going to go ahead and attack us. We're just going to take it. I mean, we were at 24 life. I don't know how we're allowed to do that. We're going to drop down the land. We're just going to Johan stopgap. Haha, I win, you lose. GG, bud. Drawing another Spell Stutter. Not really impactful. We'll swing for 6. He's going to go ahead and drop down his Kellen's Lightblade, which then is going to sacrifice one of his treasures, I believe, and try to kill our Hamlet Glutton. We're going to go ahead and Spell Stutter, which forces him to sacrifice his treasure. I mean, we might as well. We don't really have anything else to do. Hindsight 2020, it was kind of a misplay, but we're in like a position where we really can't even lose, so, I mean, oh well. We go ahead and draw the Ferocious Werefox here. Play a land. We're going to go ahead and Adventure, kill the Collector's Vault. And then we're going to go ahead and play down the Vanguard, drawing 2 cards off the Beanstalk, drawing our 3rd Hamlet Glutton. He's going to go ahead and play the Elvish Archivist again, playing a Sweet Tooth Witch, getting an artifact. And then now his Elvish Archivist is +2/+2/+2 counters. We're going to play down a land. Play down the 3rd Hamlet Glutton. We're going to trigger Up the Beanstalk. And now we are back to 7 cards in hand for absolutely no reason. He's going to go ahead and use his 3 Bowls of Porridge, tap down our Vanguard here. And then he's going to untap and draw, play the Besotted Knight, do nothing. We're going to draw another land. We're going to play down the lane. We're going to swing with both of our fat boys. He's going to go ahead and double block. We will Ferocious Werefox in the damage step, which is going to force a 2-for-1 on his side. Now we're just going to drop down the Ferocious Werefox, another Root Rider Fawn, and then we're going to play Brave of the Wilds, which is going to sack one of our Up the Beanstalk, because as you can see, we're getting down to literally 6 cards in deck, which is absolutely crazy, so no reason to have an Up the Beanstalk on the field. Go ahead and make another 3/3. He's going to use the final mode of his 3 Bolt of Porridge. Then he's going to respond and sacrifice it with his Sweet Tooth Witch to burn us for 2 for really no reason at all. He's going to drop down a Territorial Witch Stalker, which has no effect on the game at this point. And now we're just going to attack with all of our big boys. He's going to just double block, and then he's going to lose his Elvish Archivist. He's going to just pass to us. He can't really do anything. At this point, we're just going to Bitter Chill on a Sweet Tooth Witch, and he's at 11. So we're just going to attack him, and he's just going to quit out. So then we're going to go into game 2 here. Game number 2 is actually a lot faster than game number 1. So if you look at our starting hand here, we open up with 5 lands, a Root Rider Fawn, and a Johann Stopgap. We're going to go ahead and take a mulligan here. We have 3 forests, a Utopia Sprawl, a Brave the Wild, a Hatching Plants, and a Hamlet Glutton. I don't think we could get a more disgusting mulligan than this. And we're going to go ahead and just put back one of the forests since we have 2 ways to ramp. He's going to play a forest. We draw Welcome to Sweet Tooth. We're going to go ahead and play down the forest, Utopia Sprawl, make a blue, because Utopia Sprawl is just fucking broken. Pass to him. He plays a land, plays Elvish Archivist again. Pass to us. Now we have 3 mana. We're going to play the Hatching Plants here. And now we're just going to play our Brave the Wilds, sacrificing the Hatching Plants, literally turn 2, drawing us 3 cards, giving us a 3/3, and adding another land to hand, which ends up giving us a Up the Beanstalk and a Ferocious Werefox, so that's pretty good for us. At this point, I mean, we're kind of just snowballing out of control. And he's just going to land up and pass. Now we have a total of 4 mana to play. We're going to drop down the Up the Beanstalk, and we draw another Hamlet Glutton. Now we can just tap out to play a copy of Welcome to Sweet Tooth, an absolutely broken card. He's going to play a land, play a 3 Bowls of Porridge, give his guy +2/+2. He's going to go ahead and attack. Don't really care about this. He's going to 3 Bowls of Porridge and just tap down our forest. Sure. We're going to go ahead and get our food token. And now we're going to play a Root Rider Fawn, and we're just going to pass here. We don't really have to do anything. He's going to drop down Sir Armont, which is going to make his Elvish Archivist a 4/5. And now he's just going to go ahead and swing in, and we're going to take it. We're going to go ahead and adventure during the end step, making our forest 4/4. Welcome to Sweet Tooth is going to put the remaining counters on the forest so we can start getting in. Now we're just going to go ahead and go in with the 6/6 since he's tapped out. He's going to take it. We'll tap out for a Hamlet Glutton. We're going to draw off Up the Beanstalk, get a Bitter Chill, absolutely disgusting, and we're just going to pass over to our opponent. He's going to drop down a Sir Ginger, giving him 2/1 counters. Then he's going to go ahead and fight our Hamlet Glutton, which we do not care about by any means. He's going to go ahead and swing in for 4 with his Sir Armont. Ouch. Don't really care about that. Okay, we draw another Hamlet Glutton, absolutely broken. And we have an Up the Beanstalk. We're just going to Bitter Chill the Archivist here. We're going to swing in for 6 again since Sir Armont is tapped. He's going to be at 8. We're just going to play another Hamlet Glutton, trigger Up the Beanstalk, go back to 16, pass over to him. He's going to go ahead and play this terrible Griffin Airy card, a card I would recommend never playing. I don't know why this isn't in your deck. Now he's going to go ahead and use the effect of 3 Bowls of Porridge, which is going to go ahead and trigger his Sir Ginger, which gives him a 1/1 counter, and then he gets to scry. He's going to go ahead and cooped up on our Hamlet Glutton here, but we have a Troublemaker Oath, so we actually do not care about that by any means. Like I said, the Troublemaker Oath is absolutely insane in this kind of deck. He's going to go ahead and trigger his Griffin Airy since he gained life off the food. We're going to play down a second Up the Beanstalk here, which draws us an island. Then we'll just go ahead and Troublemaker Oath, sacrifice Up the Beanstalk, and then we'll just go ahead and remove that cooped up from our Hamlet Glutton. Now we can just attack with everybody. I mean, considering he's at 2 life, he's going to go to -2, so he confirmed dies here, and that's the match. So overall, we kind of just steamrolled this guy, and I really wish I recorded it because going turn 2 Hatching Plans and sacrificing it to create a 3/3, draw 3 cards, and add a land is absolutely disgusting. Something that should be borderline illegal, but that's just how it works on the arena. And now let's go ahead and hop into that second match. All right, we are back on the arena to complete our final 2 matches, and let's go ahead and take a quick look at the deck. just to make sure that everything I talked about in the draft log was actually correct. Okay, so yeah, everything I'm pretty sure is the same. For some reason, I thought we ended up playing a copy of the Beanstalk Worm, but then I just realized, oh yeah, our deck is just way too overpowered to actually utilize this card. And I mean, this is, I think, about as streamlined as it gets. We do have some nice things in the sideboard here. Number one, we have 2 Spell Stutter if we're on the play. We also have a copy of Spider Food if our opponent's playing like a blue flying control type of deck. And as well, Beanstalk Worm could go in against like the flying control matchups as well. Don't think I'm really going to utilize any of these other cards, but as you can see, the name is IDC'd, and now I have 3 Beanstalk, which is iconic to this run. But let's go ahead and hop into the first match we got going on here. All right, a worthy opponent has been found, and we will be going first. So we have 4 lands, we have a Troublemaker Oath, and 2 Hamlet Glutton. I mean, I guess we could do a little bit better, but we are going first, and we have a turn to play. So there is an argument to just keep this. I think I'm okay with it. I think our deck is so powerful that it doesn't really matter. So our opponent's playing white. Please do not get us flooded here. Red-white aggro, not what you like to see. And he's just going to go ahead and pass. Okay, that's really good for us. Let's go ahead and drop down our forest, get in for our 2. We're going to drop down the Root Rider Fawn. Hopefully he doesn't have a removal. And now suddenly this hand is so much better. If we can get some kind of bargain synergy going on, we can definitely pull this out. Okay, sure. And we are flooded. RIP. No, that's not what you like to see. Hopefully the Hamlet Gluttons can allow us to get out of this situation with the Stab Wound Burn and the Catapult Burn. I guess maybe our opponent's playing more of a control strategy than I originally thought. Next turn we'll be able to play Hamlet Glutton the hard way, which is actually quite funny. Do I want to get rid of this? Probably not. Kind of just want to ramp next turn. Okay, so we have a Troublemaker Oath, so we can potentially get rid of the Stab Wound here. The hard way, baby. I don't really want to attack with this, because he can probably use a spell to just untap this, so I don't think there's really a reason to. What kind of bargain synergies could we get? So we could get a Ferocious Werefox, Welcome to Sweet Tooth, 3 up the Beanstalk, Hatching Plans, Utopia Sprawl, Bitter Chill. There's quite a few things we could draw here. And we've already drawn so many lands, so I think it's a good chance that we actually get out of this burn situation with the Stab Wound. Considering we're in a battle of attrition, I like my chances a lot better than our opponent. Even if he gets this first game, I'm pretty sure if we don't brick, we just win with this deck every time. Brave the Wild's not what you like to see. I think we just go in with the Hamlet Glutton here. If he wants to use a combat trick, sure. And he's got an Impact Trimmers. It doesn't seem to go very well with your deck, man. He basically can just never attack because we have this Stab Wound on our guy. Another land, you hate to see it. So he has to block something here. Maybe we should have attacked with the Troublemaker Oath. All right, okay. I could Brave the Wild, just get a land out of our deck, but I think it's a higher chance we draw something non-land than not, considering we've drawn so many lands in a row. And all he's got is another Catapult. I think this is just game. I'm sorry, brother. This is just too unfair. No need to show him we have his third Hamlet Glutton. Not just yet. It'll come up in the second game. We'll get the up the Beanstalks rolling. And we're just going to smash our opponent out of the game like that. Well, so far we do know that the Troublemaker Oafs are going to be really good in this matchup. I don't think we really want to board anything in. The Beanstalk Worm actually seems more incentivizing than I originally thought. I just don't know what we would cut from this deck. You could argue that maybe we cut a land and just play a Beanstalk Worm. I don't know. I just really like hitting our land drops in this deck, so I'm kind of against that. I think Beanstalk Worm is probably better when you're playing 17 lands, to be honest, because if you're not hitting your land drops, it basically has no effect. I mean, 5/5 drops is probably just enough, right? One lander, but we have a Brave the Wilds into an Up the Beanstalk. I think I like this hand. And we get a second land? Okay, that's pretty nice. Let's just go ahead and do this here, just get a blue. Out of respect, I'm not going to use the Evolving Wilds during the end step. Let's go ahead and up the Beanstalk. Let's get another land. Okay. Looking pretty good. I mean, if we need to, we can Johann Stopgap. And he's got a Catapult, so that's not looking very good for him. You don't want to be in a battle of attrition with this deck, man. Think we're good just to pass here? Maybe we should have Braved the Wilds last turn? Not really sure. So now we've gotten Welcome to Sweet Tooth. We could Welcome to Sweet Tooth and Johann Stopgap. I kind of just like Welcome to Sweet Tooth, Brave the Wilds, and then sacrifice our 1/1, make a 3/3. I mean, I guess he's really not attacking us. So I think we can just leave up the island and just bring in a tapped land. Welcome to Sweet Tooth is absolutely insane in our deck because Welcome to Sweet Tooth is actually insane in our deck because we actually have so many cards that just bargain. And this card on its own potentially gives you 3 bargain fodders because you're getting a 1/1, a food token, and then you can sack it if you don't want the 1/1 counters, which is more likely to do in our deck because we don't really need the 1/1 counters. I mean, we're always just going to go over everyone. Next turn, we can just Hamlet Glutton, stabilize the board. And then we have the Johann Stopgap. So even if he does have a stab wound, we can just return that to hand. Okay. What was the point of that? I feel kind of bad because I'm kind of just going against a one-legged man. Like, this person's deck is so terrible. You really only want to play the Catapult if you're trying to do a gimmicking thing with the red-blue deck and you just have multiple copies of one blue spell that draws you a card when a creature does damage to someone. That's actually like really degenerate, but all in all, that's not really a consistent strategy. Honestly, I think we just sacrifice Welcome to Sweet Tooth. Like, we don't really need the 1/1 counters. Polluted Bonds is actually kind of a decent card against us. Never have I ever seen someone play this, but it costs 5, so there's a reason no one plays it. And now we just have 3 copies of Up the Beanstalk. Kind of like just playing Agatha's Champion, sacrifice the food, and then just fight his Sellsword. I don't think we're going to need the food. We have another Hamlet Glutton. Let's go ahead and kill this. That way, in case he has a torch to the tower, he can't kill our Hamlet Glutton. He's just going to tap the catapult for no reason. Okay. Now, if he had 2 mana available, I'd be somewhat scared of him having Kellen's Lightblade, but he didn't have that. He has a weak board, and this is kind of a free matchup. I don't know how this person has 1 win. I mean, if you want to torch the tower trade, that's completely fine with me. Get this polluted bonds out of there. Okay, no. He's just throwing. GG, man. How many cards do you have in deck? 21. This is actually the first deck I've ever played where you have to, like, monitor how many cards you have in deck because of the Up the Beanstalks. Let's just go ahead and double up the Beanstalk. I just think it'd be funny. We'll give him a chance here. We'll just show him we have 3 Beanstalk. Beanstalk control. How is this fair? Sacrifice up the Beanstalk. Now I think we can just kill his catapult. It's kind of funny you can kill catapult with Troublemaker Oath. I didn't know that. Every time I play Troublemaker Oath, it just ends up being better than I thought it was last time. Like, this card is a really serviceable 2-drop. Bargain is just such an upside in this set. Okay. GG. Yes, sir. That's what we like to see. And then we'll just throw down the Fawn's Bane Troll just to show him we have a lot of rares. Yeah. Up the Beanstalk OP. Let's go, baby. All right, overall, I mean, it didn't really do a good demonstration of our deck because our opponent is just playing a unplayable pile of cards, but we did what we were able to do, you know? That's what our deck does. Regardless of what deck our opponent was playing, we were probably just going to stabilize with how many fat guys we had. Up the Beanstalk and a land. Okay, this hand is amazing. There's really no reason to Brave the Wilds here. He's going to drop down the Grand Ball, guess. I do want to play up the Beanstalk, but we need to mitigate damage. And even if he kills the Root Rider Fawn, it means that he's having to sacrifice developing the board that turn, which is probably good for us. I'm not going to block because he probably has a Rat Catcher trainee. Okay, he has a belligerent to the ball. We're at 16, it's getting a little bit risky. I mean, we could play this. Just up the Beanstalk so we draw here. Do we go second up the Beanstalk? I don't think so. Maybe we Troublemaker Oath, sacrifice the Beanstalk, and just kill his Ginger Brute. Because we are under a lot of damage. And I'd be willing to just trade this and make him use a combat trick. Definitely a tough situation. This is one of the worst matchups for us since we're on the draw. But if we draw a Hamlet Glutton, we're in a really good position. So we're taking 5, we're taking 6 next turn. Yeah, we can't do that. I think this is fine. We just need to stabilize the board and we can win. Okay, so he has a Mary Barge, which is going to trigger both of his guys. That's really unfortunate for us. And then I guess we can't block either of these. That's really scary. Hamlet Glutton off the top? No. How do we stabilize here? We got 5 mana. This pays for itself, so if we want to bargain, we can. I think that's fine. And we've got 3. I think that's fine. We're going to be really close to dying here, but we have to take a risk. If we stabilize the board, we win, and if we don't stabilize the board, we probably lose. Okay. That's not good for us. We're always taking 4. Have to do that. Unfortunate. We might just be dead. Plays 2 turn permanents. We block this, block that. If he plays 1 permanent, we block here, buff this, we take 1. Let's just pass. I'm scared. Sure. Very unfortunate. That's just going to be game. GG. Even if we would have played Root Rider Fawn, he still would have had it. Is there anything we can do to slow down the game? I think we put in Spell Stutter for sure. Take out 1 up the Beanstalk, 1 Troublemaker Oath. I think this is fine. We just didn't see our Hamlet Glutton in the match. That's kind of what we need to stabilize in this matchup. But being on the play is definitely better for us. Oh, this is amazing. We get a Forest. Turn 2, we can play Utopia Sprawl and up the Beanstalk. Now that's not good for us. I mean, we already have a blue, though. I think we just get a green, actually. We could just kill this, and then next turn we go Ferocious Werefox. I kind of like that. But this gets us closer to a Hamlet Glutton. Honestly, I don't think we play for value in this matchup. Hamlet Glutton, okay, we're nice. With that being said, I think we just up the Beanstalk, try to find a land here. Top decking Spell Stutter, that's crazy. And he's just gonna pass? Oh my gosh. We just need to get a land and then we win the game. Use your combat trick? Or Rat Catcher? Okay. It's fine with me. Okay, and we have a land. It's over, boys. Kind of just like fighting this, though. That was really good for us. Worst case scenario, we just go Fawn, hold Spell Stutter next turn, which isn't terrible. Kind of just like doing this. Start racing him. I mean, we have a lot of stabilization. Hopefully our Spell Stutter pans out here. Funny enough, we're racing the aggro player. Sure. No. GG, sir. Slam that. Simplified game state with a Stormkilled Vanguard. We're nice. So we can just hard cast our Hamlet Glutton. Just go 7. The hard way, baby. Up the Beanstalk value. Yes, sir. Pretty sure that's just GG. Okay, yeah, let's go. This is actually probably the worst possible matchup, so the fact we were able to get out of that game is pretty good. If we get rid of the second Up the Beanstalk, what else do we have to bargain away? I mean, Up the Beanstalk on the draw is just like really bad. Beanstalk Worm is also equally bad on the draw. Did he have anything that we wanted to target with the Spider Food? I don't think so. Yeah, this is going to be rough because if he goes 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop like last time, we're going to be in a bad situation, but I think we just do this. Like, you could argue that maybe we go to 16 lands and add in a Beanstalk Worm, but that just doesn't make sense. Like, if we had something else to put in, like, I could add Up the Beanstalk, sure, but Up the Beanstalk just seems so bad going second against him when he's going all aggro. All right, Mickey, you're going down, man. Hatching Plains Brave the Wilds? Yes, sir. Oh my gosh, this guy opens up the Ginger Brute every single game. That's so disgusting. Thank God he missed his 2-drop. We're just Hatching Plains here. Okay. You know, I think this is fine. So we go Brave the Wilds here. Sack the Hatching Plains. We'll see what we draw. I really want to play the Fawnsbane Troll, but I think we just have to get a forest so that we can do Welcome to Sweet Tooth this turn. It sucks, but I feel like we have to do this. We need the token to be able to trade. Please draw Troublemaker Oath. I want to punish this guy for going all in greed. Next turn, our island can actually block his Ginger Brute, so that's not bad. He's going to go Mary Bard's Equip. Okay. I kind of just like Bitter Chill on the Mary Bards. So if we play Root Rider Fawn and just take the damage next turn, we'd be able to use the Fawnsbane Troll. I think I like this. Because I'll be able to Fawnsbane Troll fight if he taps out. And I think that's fine because we have the food. I think we can just stabilize here. Then down the road, if we need to answer this, we can just hold up our island because it has haste, and then we can create a monster roll token on it, make it 4/4. I think that's fine. You could argue we block with the 1/1, but I think this is okay. Okay. Yuan Stopgap's pretty good. Could also just bounce that with the Johans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this is fine because we can block that with this, but we can't block that. Okay, that was really good for us. That might just decide the game right there. No, I mean, this guy can just attack, I think. Because we have a food. So even if he gets through with this damage, we just food. Sure. I don't think that card's very good in your deck, dude. We got 5 mana. We could make it 6. I think I just like bouncing that. Okay, that's pretty nice. Do we bargain? I don't like bargaining. Because we're going to bargain with the Johans. Johans draws us, so I don't think we need to keep the Beanstalk. It's not a value-intensive matchup. Then next turn we just tap out for Vanguard. I think that's fine. Okay, that was absolutely disgusting. Wow. This is going to be close. If we play this, we can trade. And then during his turn, we could Spell Stutter negate that, depending on what he does. I think this is fine. That Expel the Interlopers was terrible for us. Damn, we might lose. This is scary. So now if we don't die next turn, we probably win. But if we do die this turn, I mean, we lose. So it's really just going to come down to this turn. Very unfortunate we get this matchup as our final match because this is a really bad matchup for us. Okay. We do need to start doing damage, but I just don't think we can afford to do that. We need to top deck Hamlet in here so bad. And he doesn't crack his Evolving Wilds. That's really weird. Oh my gosh, we're literally insane. Holy shit, holy shit. We're the best of all time. We're literally insane. Oh my gosh. That was the best possible top deck for us. Holy shit. And we still have 2 more Glutton we could top deck. I don't think this is game just yet. There's only one thing we can bargain away. We just play this every time. The only card we could draw that's bargain would be the Utopia Sprawl, so there's no reason to do that. Johans would be really good here, though. I think he might have this one. His board is just so much better than ours. He might be just by deck out, honestly. Okay, Johans is great. What would he bounce, though? I don't really want to bounce anything. Yeah, he's just drawing more gas than us. I don't know if we're going to be able to win this. If we can get 2 more Glutton on board, there might be a situation where we go for game. Realistically, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blockers. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. He's at 16. This is going to be really tough. Like I said, we have a higher chance to lose by deck out than we do to actually lose. Surprisingly, he has more cards than us when we did a turn 2 hatching plans, or turn 3 hatching plans. That's crazy. Hamilton's good. I think we just try to draw our Hamlet Glutton and just try to go for game. Look at his 3 card speed. That Expel the Interlopers, which is so insane. I think we just have to hold Johans, and whenever we go for lethal, we probably just bounce his Hearth Elemental and just try to do it. Damn, this guy's deck has so much gas. I think what would be really good in this deck is a back for seconds. Surprisingly, this aggro matchup just turned into a value-based matchup, which is crazy. If we can draw Utopia Sprawl and then do Agathas, that could be really good. We need our Hamlet Glutton and our Agathas to not be on the bottom here to have a chance to win, but I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this out. Draw Hamlet Glutton, draw Agathas, Agatha's effect, fight Ash. Please do not be on the bottom of our deck. Is this just game? So he has 31 damage on the board. Wow, that's so disgusting. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, damn. There's nothing we could do. GG, man. I mean, at the end of the day, this was a fun run. And, you know, it was a worthy adversary. I'm just here to display, like, the power level of this deck, which obviously is very, very high. But in the end, when you don't have as much removal as you'd like, there's always going to be one area of your deck that's going to be lacking in a draft, and it just so happened to be our area was removal, and our opponent just had so many value-oriented cards in their deck that it didn't really matter that we drew our entire deck. But that was a really fun experience. Surprised we didn't go 3-0. I just wanted to demonstrate that green-blue is a viable strategy, and overall, this deck is very, very nice and very fun to play. It's definitely a different way to play in Wilds of Eldraine, and depending on what your seat is at the table, it's definitely something you should consider being in when it is the correct choice. If you think you would make any picks differently, or any changes to the deck or gameplay wise, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. And also let me know what you guys think about blue in general, and as well green-blue as a viable option at a competitive draft event. Stay tuned to see if I qualify for DreamHack Denver. I will also be at the Standard 75K Open in Chicago. So always remember, the best is blessed, and I'm the best, so prepare to be blessed. And as always, if it's not the goo, it's got to go. Peace.
Ooh, is that indigo?